What is the DNA of 35 Scottish clans and how do they differ? Now in the first section of this video, we're going to look at some Scottish clans in more detail, exploring their name, their origins, their Tartans as well as their DNA, whereas in the last section of this video, we're going to look at the high level genetic markers of 32 Scottish clan chiefs, clans that many of you will belong to. Now the first clan we're going to look at today is Clan Boyd, with Boyd a pretty common surname in Scotland still today, but what do we know about Clan Boyd? Well, it is a Scottish lowland clan associated with the county of Ayrshire in the southwest of Scotland, and Dean Castle in Kilmarnock has been a notable stronghold of the Boyds down through history. The name Boyd is believed to come from a Gaelic word meaning yellow or fair-haired. Some theories suggest it may refer to a physical characteristic of an early ancestor, or it could be connected to the Isle of Bute. The early origins of the noble family of Boyd are uncertain though, and claims have been made that they are descended from Simon, brother of Walter FitzAlan. Now anyone that saw my last video in this series will know that the FitzAlan family were originally from Brittany and France, and they came over initially to England after the Norman conquest of 1066, and they played a key role in the origins of Clan Stewart. However, others are not convinced by this origin story of Clan Boyd, and it is also likely that this Simon was a half-brother of Walter FitzAlan. And if we look at the genetics of these families as well, the DNA results confirm that the Boyds are not from the same male line as the Stewarts, according to research involving the University of Strathclyde at least. Others argued that the first Boyds were connected to a Norman family called the Dumorvals, who take their name from a commune in Normandy by the same name. So although the origins of Clan Boyd aren't 100% clear, we do know the first time the surname was used in Scotland. It was in relation to Robert Boyd, who was a witness to a contract in 1205 pertaining to Irvine in Ayrshire. Another key figure in the history of Clan Boyd is a man called Sir Robert Boyd, first of Kilmarnock, who lived between 1270 and 1333. Robert Boyd was granted lands in Kilmarnock because of his loyalty to Robert the Bruce during the First Scottish War of Independence, fighting in numerous battles, including being a commander at the Battle of Bannockburn in 1314. And we actually have a reasonable idea as to what DNA marker this Robert Boyd had. Before we look at that though, let's quickly look at the main Tartan of Clan Boyd, with the picture on the top left, the main one associated with this clan, which is a nice Tartan. As far as DNA, there has been a reasonable level of research into this family, although the following results from the University of Strathclyde are provisional due to a lack of documented male line descendants who have taken a Y-DNA test. Now quickly for reference, the Y chromosome is passed from father to son, remaining mostly unchanged across generations, except for small traceable changes in DNA called SNPs, or single nucleotide polymorphisms. These allow us to see small differences even within broader Y-DNA groupings, markers associated with particular families or clans. As surnames are usually passed down through the paternal line obviously, as well as the Y-DNA markers, this means that there are genetic markers associated with these clan surnames that we can trace through history. With all that being said, the Boys are again within the broader Y-DNA haplogroup R1b, like most other Scottish clans. Of more interest, the Y-DNA SNP RFGC 12774 is found mainly in men with the surname Boyd, and it was almost certainly formed after the date at which the surname Boyd was firmly established, probably in the late 12th century. This SNP is downstream from the larger subclad of R1b that some of you will know, RU106, which is high in parts of England and is associated with Germanic peoples down through history as well, of course, as I go through my Anglo-Saxon DNA video in my previous video. As far as the DNA marker of Robert Boyd from the Battle of Bannockburn, it is highly likely that the SNP FT102166 indicates a descent from this Robert Boyd, who died around 1333. Another SNP, RFT69836, was also likely formed in Robert Boyd or one of his descendants. We also know that the descendants of William Boyd, 4th Earl of Kilmarnock, who was actually captured at Culloden and subsequently executed for treason in 1746, carry the SNP FT102166, again supporting this connection with the Boyd family. Next up is Clan Maxwell, but what do we know about the name Tartans and DNA of this clan? Well, we know Clan Maxwell is associated with the Dumfries area of southern Scotland and is once again a Scottish lowland clan. The incredible Carlaverock Castle was a stronghold of the Maxwell family for centuries, a triangular castle first built in the 13th century. I was actually planning on filming this video on location there, but the weather had other ideas, the beauty of living in Scotland. Now, the name Maxwell was derived from Macus Well, a reference to a Norse or Saxon nobleman named Macus, who lived in the 12th century. Macus controlled lands along the River Tweed, and a nearby pool or well was named after him. Over time, Macus Well evolved into Maxwell. The first reference to the family that became known as the Maxwells was the father of Macus, called Unduin Macus du Norseman. Now, in relation to Tartans, this is a photo of the main Tartan associated with this clan. But what do we know about the DNA of Clan Maxwell? Well, broadly speaking, we know that they are again part of the R1BY DNA haplogroup, but there is a number of SNPs associated with this family, although the results are once again provisional. Now, the SNP RM7884 indicates descent from Herbert Maxwell, who was born around 1268. Whereas the SNP RY131342 indicates descent from John Maxwell of Nelor Pollock, who lived between 1337 and 1405. This SNP is downstream from the broader R1b subclad RL21 that many of you will know. Another few SNPs have also been identified in later Maxwells also. One is RA1273, which indicates a likely descent from Herbert Maxwell, who was born around 1360. A further SNP, Y2357, indicates a likely descent from John Maxwell, who was born around 1450. So these are some of the main DNA markers associated with the Maxwell clan, but more research is ongoing to confirm or build upon these findings. But what do we know about another fascinating Scottish clan, Clan Dunbar? Well, we know the name Dunbar comes from two Gaelic words, Dun meaning fort, and Bar meaning summit or headland, referring to the location of Dunbar Castle on the east coast of Scotland, which was the seat of the Earls of Dunbar for centuries. As far as the origins of this clan, the family of Dunbar boasts probably one of the longest unbroken British documented male line ancestries, descending from Crann the Thane, born around the 10th century. He has been supposed by many to be one and the same Crann, Abbot of Dunkeld, father of King Duncan I, made famous through Shakespeare's Macbeth. The general view of scholarship is now that they were different individuals, but the fact remains that Crann the Thane was born around the late 10th century and leaves male line descendants to this day, a fact that is supported by both documentary and DNA evidence. Another key early ancestor of the Dunbar clan was Guspatrick I, Earl of Northumbria, who lived between around 1040 and 1080 AD. Now, Guspatrick was probably related to Crann the Thane in some way, although the exact connection isn't 100% clear. What we do know is that Guspatrick received lands in Dunbar as well as other parts of Lothian during the reign of Malcolm III of Scotland, who was the King of Alapa from 1058 to 1093. Guspatrick's male line descendants went on to hold the earldom of Dunbar, later known as the earldom of the Marsh, in southeast Scotland until 1435. As far as Tartans, these are some of the main Tartans associated with this clan, with the one at the top left the most common one. What do we know about the DNA of Clan Dunbar then? Well, they are again part of the R1BY DNA haplogroup, and although research is still ongoing into the main branch of the family, we do know some of the DNA markers linked to a branch of the family that held lands up north. The Y-DNA SNP, RFT29439, is carried by descendants of the cadet line founded by David Dunbar of Duras, who lived between around 1463 and 1521. I should note that although most descendants of David will test positive for this SNP, it is possible that not all male line descendants will test positive. This SNP, RFT29439, is again downstream from this RU106 subclad. Another SNP connected to the Dunbar family is RZP33. Now, this indicates a descent from Alexander Dunbar of Westfield, the father of David, who lived between around 1425 and 1497, or at least one of his ancestors. A third SNP connected to the Dunbar family is R/107691, which indicates a descent from Alexander Dunbar of Consey, who died around 1585. These two SNPs are again downstream from RU106, and this would logically make sense, given the Dunbar's connection with Northumbria, with RU106 found widely across England, with the Anglo-Saxon migrations being a major driver of this historically, as I noted in my last video. Now, next up is Clan Seton, a very interesting Scottish clan that actually connects to Clan Gordon to a degree. But if we start with Clan Seton first, what do we know about the name and the origins of Clan Seton in general? Well, there are a few different interpretations of where the name Seton comes from. The most common origin story is that it comes from the village of Say in Normandy, with the family tracing its roots to Norman knights who arrived in Britain following the Norman conquest of England in 1066. Another school of thought argues that the clan derives its name from the sea town of Tartan, near Edinburgh, which happens to have been an area owned by the Setons in general. Other origin stories also indicate a possible Flemish connection as well, but it's not fully clear. What is certain is that the family settled in Lothian, with Alexander du Seton holding land there in the middle of the 12th century, probably granted to him by King David I. Another important early figure in the Seton family line was Christopher Seton, who lived between 1278 and 1306. He was a supporter of Robert the Bruce, and he actually married one of Bruce's sisters, Lady Christine Bruce. As a point of interest, Christopher was present when Bruce stabbed his rival, John Comyn, at Greyfriars Church in February 1306, and Christopher actually killed John's uncle, Sir Robert Comyn, on that day, according to many accounts at least, as Robert tried to help his nephew after he was stabbed. Christopher was captured that same year at Lochdoon Castle by the English, and executed at Dumfries. As far as the Tartans of Clan Seton, this is a photo of one of the main Tartans of this clan. But where does the Clan Gordon link come in then? Well, it comes from a marriage in the 15th century between Elizabeth Gordon and Alexander Seton. Elizabeth was the heiress of Clan Gordon, and Alexander Seton was obviously from the powerful Seton family, but he adopted the surname Gordon and became the first Lord Gordon through this marriage. Their male children then also took the surname Gordon as opposed to Seton, with one of their sons called Alexander Gordon, for example, also known as the first Earl of Huntly. A new peerage was essentially created around this time as well, called the Earls of Huntly, which later evolved into the Marquis of Huntly in the 16th century. So in short, some lines who were genetically part of the Seton family adopted the surname Gordon, intertwining parts of these families to a degree and making it a lot more complex when tracing these lines. Now, what about the DNA of Clan Seton then, and do we have any insights into the members who adopted the Gordon clan name? Well, we know that the Setons are part of the R1b grouping in general again. As far as all the Setons and Gordons who are genetically Setons but took on the surname Gordon, they carry the SNP RFGC 15048. This SNP's paternal line was formed when it branched off from its ancestor in the rest of humankind around 50 AD. However, the man who is the most recent common ancestor of this line is estimated to have been born around 1350 AD. And this appears to be a key genetic marker of the Setons and the genetic Setons who adopted the name Gordon. This SNP is again downstream from RU106. Now, another SNP connected to the Setons is R by 72248, which indicates a descent from John Seton, who died around 1434. This SNP branched off from RGC 15048 around 1350 AD, so they are related branches. Now, some Gordons also carry the SNP RFT 211058, whilst others do not. The conclusion based on current evidence is that the SNP indicates descent from the Gordon descendants of Alexander Seton Gordon, first Earl of Huntly, who died around 1470, although not all of them will carry it. It again is related to RFGC 15048, but it is a more recent SNP. So in short, this SNP RFGC 15048 is a key genetic marker of the Setons and the Gordons who are genetically Setons through the paternal line. Now, in this last section of this video, I want to look at the DNA markers of 32 Scottish clan chiefs that comes from a really interesting graphic on Eupedia's forum. Although I can't verify all this, and this graphic was posted around 4 years ago, a lot of the broad classifications seem quite accurate for a lot of the clans from what I've seen at least. I would be interested to hear how accurate you think this is in the comments below, any clan connections you have, any kind of haplogroups you have that might corroborate or disprove some of this in general. And I'm going to focus more on the high level haplogroups or subclads as opposed to the more refined genetics to the right, as I'm not sure how accurate and applicable these are in general. But these are obviously interesting for those that want to delve more into it and go into the real detail. This is also looking at the clan chief lines, so bear that in mind. So if we start with Clan Cahoon, EV13 seems to be a key genetic marker of them. Clan Hamilton, I1Z63, Clan Lion, I1L22, Clan Barclay, I2A1M26, Clan Lindsay, I2A1A, L1286, Now, in the second part of this series, I did actually focus on Clan Lindsay in more detail, with the University of Strathclyde confirming this I2A grouping in general, which is interesting and confirms this broad categorisation. I go into more snips associated with this clan in more detail, and its name and its kind of origins as well in that video. If we continue though, Clan Munro, I2A1, L161. Clan Graham, J1, L858. Clan Montgomery, J2A1, L26. Clan MacDonald, R1A Z284, with Clan MacDougall, Clan Home, and Clan Cochrane, all within this R1A Z284 grouping. Then if we move into the R1B U106 groupings, you've got Clan Gordon, Clan Sinclair, and Clan Boyd. And obviously we went through Clan Gordon and Clan Boyd in this video, and this R1B U106 seems a quite accurate grouping for the clan in general. Other research has kind of confirmed this to a degree at least. And Clan Sinclair, in part 1 of this video, I did go into more detail on the snips associated with this clan. So this R1B U106 seems quite accurate for Clan Sinclair in general, as a kind of broad level, high level category. Then if we move down, we see Clan Erskine, and that's categorised as R1B U152. Then we've got Clan Armstrong, a Border Reaver clan obviously, R1B P312, as well as Clan Grant in the same category. Now if we move down to Clan Bruce, they're categorised as R1B DF27, as well as Clan Boyle, Clan Sutherland, and Clan Murray. Now we'll go into more detail on Clan Bruce in part 1 of this series, and Clan Sutherland in part 2, but this general grouping of R1B DF27 seems quite accurate for them, and the particular snips that I go through, again involving research from the University of Strathclyde, for both these clans do kind of descend or are downstream from R1B DF27 as a general broad grouping. Now if we move down, we see a number of clans that are classified as R1B L21, Clan MacLean, Clan Drummond, Clan Mackenzie, Clan Cameron, Clan Campbell, Clan McLaren, Clan McPherson, Clan McBean, Clan Buchanan, and Clan McGregor. And in part 1 of this series again, I went into more detail on Clan Campbell, and this R1B L21 grouping seems quite accurate once again. So like I say, I'm really interested to see what your thoughts are of how accurate that you think this is, and if you belong to one of these clans, what your general broad Y-DNA grouping is, and any particular snips or more refined genetic data as well. Really interesting to see in the comments below how this marries up. But obviously this graphic gives a really good overview of the different clans, the differences between the clans, and the different kind of markers, even within R1B, the different subclads of R1B as well. So really interesting to note. But to find out more about Clan Campbell, Clan Bruce, and different clans as well, and check out part 1 of this series, please click here, where I actually go to Castle Campbell, make a video on location there. But yeah, thanks for watching. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks to my subscribers on Patreon for voting for this video topic. If you would like to vote for what video topics I make videos on, and also support this channel in general, we'll put a link below. But yeah, thanks again for watching. Please subscribe and hit the bell, and I'll see you next time.